Hey, everybody. Let's do a little bit of news and commentary. Attorney General Ashley Moody is taking aim at a local landscaping company that targeted villagers with false promises and incomplete work. Moody said that since July 2017, ServiceSmart, which also went by other names, has solicited villagers through unpermitted door-to-door home solicitation sales. Offering a variety of landscaping and pest control services, the company has cheated its customers out of more than $100,000, Moody says. ServiceSmart Incorporated, ServiceSmart Management Incorporated, Good Neighbors Landscape Incorporated, Good Neighbors Service Management Incorporated, aka Good Neighbors Services, and then ServiceSmart. And its owner and managers Kenneth Wayne Smith, Aaron Paul Gaines, and Roy Blackburn allegedly failed to provide certain services and misrepresented the quality and timing of services provided, resulting in more than $118,000 in lost consumer funds, she said in a news release. Smith, who served as a lead salesperson for ServiceSmart, was arrested in 2019 for writing bad checks. According to the investigation, the Attorney General's office received more than 125 complaints against ServiceSmart for misrepresenting and services not rendered. More than 120 of the complaints being filed by seniors and military service members. ServiceSmart allegedly misrepresented to consumers the timeline, schedule, or frequency of landscaping and pest control services through deceptive contracts, flyers, invoices, or sales pitches. Furthermore, ServiceSmart used the same deceitful sales tactics to falsely convey product quality or type of vegetation used on projects. You got to be very careful who you hire around here. That's why I always say I don't do business with people out of the back of a pickup truck unless I personally know them. And there's only one or two that I could say I personally know that does that I know is just as honest as the day is long. These are not them. I saw ServiceSmart in my neighborhood when we first moved in here and they were still building houses in my area. They never came to my door. Nobody ever knocked on the door as far as I know and tried to talk me into anything because, first of all, that don't work on me. You knock on my door trying to sell me something, I'm politely going to tell you I'm not interested and I'm going to move on. There's been a couple of people I told them to get off my property. You're not allowed to be knocking on doors around here without a permit. I want to see your permit. They don't have a permit. They got this thing on their neck. When you look at it, I don't know what it is. It's just a bunch of hocus pocus crap. And I had to call Home Watch on one of them, and they came out here and told them to get out of the neighborhood. They're not allowed to be out here. People argue with me about that, saying they can be here. No, they can't. So anyway, just be careful who you hire. Talk to your neighbors and ask them who they use. If they got something going on that looks good to you and you like it and you saw the people do it and you thought they'd done a good job, start there. Ask your neighbors who they got. And you probably won't go wrong. There's so many people here that do so many things and do such a great job that don't let the little one here scare you. But beware. Don't come in here with your head in the sand, thinking it's a retirement community, everything is A-OK, it's bubblegum and roses. It's the villages. It's the Disney World for adults. You hear this all the time. And that's 70% true, 75% true. Maybe it's 77% true. You get what I'm saying, right? But just beware of these things that happen because it could happen to you and you're going to be out of money. These people aren't going to recover any money off these people. And they were out of $118,000. That's probably true. But with time it goes to court and everything, these people are not going to get their money back. I know they're probably all hoping that, but I've never seen it happen. What's going to happen is the company's going to get fined. People may go to jail, and that's going to be it. That's what's going to happen. So before you write that check, know who you're writing the check to and know what's going to happen. Stick with the businesses that's been here for 20 and 30 years. They're not going to be the cheapest, but you're not going to get screwed over. That's just what I try to point out. We're getting landscaping done. People may not like the company I'm using, and that's their prerogative. They don't have to. There's a lot of good ones around here. We're using the one we have for specific reasons. It isn't really my number one choice of landscaping I'm getting done, but there's specific reasons why I'm using the one I'm using. The number one reason is most of the other great landscaping companies that I do know and the ones that I really would rather had do some of the work that I'm getting done. They have a minimum now because of COVID. If your job isn't up to a certain amount of money, they don't want to do it. It's not big enough for them. And so some of these companies now has got a minimum charge. Like to do a small job, their minimum charge is $2,500. So here you want them to come out and do a $500 job, let's say that you got, or roughly a $500 job. It's $2,500 no matter what you have done. So that's why I'm using the company I'm using. Their minimum charge was $1,500, but I knew this was going to be way over $1,500, and so I used them. The ones that I really wanted to use, their minimum charge is $4,500, and I thought that's kind of on the cusp of what I think this job's going to cost. So we didn't use them because we weren't sure. One of them did come out. It's not big enough for us. We just can't do this. I don't know if I'd be calling them again just because of that attitude. And staying with that same logic of knowing who you're hiring and being careful and whatever, here's another one. A landscaper who said he wanted a beer was arrested after tripping an alarm at a pricey home in the Villages. Sumter County Sheriff's deputies responded Monday afternoon to a $645,000 home in the village of Lake Deaton. That's not too far from me. Deputies found a landscaper, 30-year-old Henry Romus Vargas of Ocala, who claimed he had bumped into the window of the residence, causing the alarm to go off, according to the arrest report of Sumter County Sheriff's Office. However, deputies found a screen on the back porch was cut and entry was made into the back patio. There were fresh grass clippings on the floor. The homeowner was out of town, but a friend told deputies he had recently checked the house and all the doors and windows were properly secured. Vargas, who was carrying a pocket knife, later admitted he had entered the home. He said he wanted a beer because the people around here usually have beer in their refrigerator, the report said, probably on the lanai. I have a refrigerator on my lanai. I also have one in the garage. You probably will be doing the same thing, even though you may say you won't. Because it's just a storage thing. You're out in the lanai, you got friends over, you got beer, you got wine, you got Coke, you got whatever in a little refrigerator out there, so you don't have to go traipsing through the house all the time. It just makes a lot of common sense. Plus, those little refrigerators are cheap. I think I got a really good one for like $150. They're cheap. He was arrested on a charge of burglary and criminal mischief with property damage. He was booked at Sumter County Detention Center and released after posting a $10,000 bond. See, this is a landscape. But I guarantee he don't have an office. Guarantee you he just has a pickup truck and he runs around with a lawnmower or in a trailer or something like that, and he mows grass. The guy next door is gone. He knows he's gone because these guys are in your yard like every week mowing grass. They get a good sense of an area when they're there all the time to what's going on around your home or maybe even your home. You hire people, if you're a snowbird, you're hiring people to mow your grass and whatever. And if you don't have a home watch service or anything like that, and you're depending on a neighbor to keep an eye on your house, first of all, that's not fair. I mean, if your neighbor volunteers to do it, that's fine. But what you're doing by asking that neighbor to watch your house is you're kind of locking him down or her down, saying they can't go nowhere, they can't take a trip, they can't go visit a granddaughter or anything like that because they have to watch your house. I have never asked anybody to watch my house in all the years that I've been here, all the years that I've owned homes here, including my first home. We've always had a home watch service. I don't mind them taking care of it because that's their business. They started the business. I'm not asking a favor. I'm willing to pay the $40 to do this. And that's the problem with a lot of these people. They're just a bunch of tight asses. They don't want to pay $40 to somebody to watch their house. I'll get John over here next door to do it. He ain't doing anything. He'll watch it for nothing, and I'm sorry, but I just think that's just not the right thing to do to your neighbor. I mean, I know your neighbor can say, no, I'd rather not. But then what happens is there's a little rift that starts. Well, John wouldn't do it. What? I don't understand. Well, if he ever needs me to do anything, I ain't doing that for him either. See, so that's why it's just not fair to ask. Letters to the editor. We must become engaged and be aware of what is happening with Sumter County options for solving the problems of extremely long response time by AMR, their contracted for-profit ambulance transport service. To be short, God, I hope so. And to the point, let's get there. 5 out of the 10 study options the county board has offered to the ad hoc committee for their review would eliminate our village's public safety fire department department as we know it. Sumter County villagers, as well as those villagers living in Lake and Marion County, are at risk of losing the services of the village's fire department and their quick response teams. We don't want the county to take over administrations of all EMS and fire department duties within Sumter County, as well as Forest Lake and Marion County, to find a way to provide those services to the committees within their boundaries. Boy, this is a long response. I'm not going to get to all of this. Let me get down to the nitty-gritty here. This is a complex issue with many factors and legislative laws. We, the residents of the villages, need to get involved, understand and provide feedback to county administrators, commissioners, and ad hoc committee, cities, towns, district management. The next meeting dates of the ad hoc committee are August 4th, 18th, September 1, September 15 at the Wildwood Community Center at 7 p.m. and are open to the public. This is so important to our well-being. We must not sit back and wait. That was sent in by Mike and Chris Rindaldi of the village of Pine Hill. Well, I'm not saying I agree with everything that these people said, or she said, or he said, I don't know. But I am going to say that I mentioned it before, maybe a couple of times, that the one time that I had to call an ambulance, and it was from the village's fire department, which ain't too far down the road from where I live, the response was super fantastic. And I had another neighbor over here that they called. I didn't call. They called the ambulance, and I know the response time over there. And I talked to them, and they have absolutely no complaints of the village's fire services and ambulance teams whatsoever. So I don't have an argument at all with the village's fire department. As far as the for-profit ambulances, I don't know much about it. I've never used them. I just know what other people are saying, and I'm not saying that they're wrong, but I don't know that they're not right. And I also don't know if they're not making things up, and I also don't know if they're exaggerating a little bit. But I will say, it does seem to be, there are so many complaints about, I guess it's AMR, ambulance service. There's so many complaints there that there must be some validity in there somewhere. There's something wrong, or you wouldn't have these many complaints. And to the best of my knowledge, and if you see it, put it in the comments below, because I don't know, I don't read everything. I have really never seen a complaint ever about the village's ambulance service and the response time. Never. That says something right there. You know, fire department, I'm a big supporter. I am, even though you'd never sent me a hat. I think Sue and Deb reported this on the Wednesday Night Live show, but I see an article about it here, so I'll do a real quick one here. It says, a new Hawaiian-style restaurant is coming to Brownwood Paddock Square. Island Fin Poke will be moving into a location at 2752 Brownwood Boulevard, next door to the village's Psychos location. The Island Fin Poke chain of restaurants was established in 2016. Area locations can be found at Winter Springs, Lake Mary, and Orlando. Walmart and Publix reinstating mask requirements for employees. I really don't want to get into this really big because people get to arguing about it, but I guess in the state of Florida, the coronavirus, the newer one, whatever it is taken off. They say the hospital is reporting something like a 73% increase in all this and that. So they're starting to enact the mask rule again inside businesses. And keep in mind, private business can do whatever they want. The government can't tell private business what to do. They don't own that. Even though there might not be a state mandate here, each Walmart is a private business. And our rec centers and our restaurants inside the villages are all private, and they can require employees to wear that stuff. They can actually deny you entry if they want to say you have to wear it. Now, I went to the doctor yesterday. And the doctor's office, as I went in, they still take your temperature as you go in, and they put a sticker on you to let you know, let the doctor know you've been tested for that. And then they say, our new rule is if you've had the vaccine, you do not have to wear the mask, which I have. And they give you a card, and I've got the card in my billfold showing I've had both shots. If you haven't been vaccinated, then you must wear the mask. I personally don't have a problem with it. I don't know why everybody else makes such a big issue over this stupid stuff. But here's the thing I don't like is that they take your word for it. They say, if you've had vaccinations, you don't need it. I say, yeah, I've got the card. Oh, I don't want to see the card. It's like they're really funny about that. No, I don't want to see the card. It isn't like they, nice when they go, nah, I don't really need to see the card. We'll take your word for it. Like, nope, nope. I don't want to see the card. What? So how do they know? I'm not lying. That's what I don't get. A 67-year-old villager has been sentenced to 10 days in jail after she was convicted on a charge of driving under the influence after her arrest last year with a bottle of vodka in a golf cart. You cannot drink and drive. That includes the golf carts. Please, people, remember that. I mean, I don't know if anybody's even watching my videos anymore because this happens every day. And I'm thinking, how does she not know this? I preach about it all the time. Same rules in a golf cart, same rules in the car. It makes no difference. The only difference rules are in the golf carts, which some of these rules I think are stupid. You only have to be 14 years old to operate a golf cart legally in the villages. Think about that. 14 years old and they can drive that golf cart unassisted out in a road and share the road with a car. A 14-year-old. I think that's wild. And you do not need a driver's license to operate a golf cart. I mean, that's a state law. Except if your license gets suspended for any reason, like a DWI or DUI or anything like that, you now cannot operate any motorized vehicle. That includes the golf cart. Pamela Claire Maroney of the village of Duval pleaded no contest to a DUI charge Thursday in Sumter County Court. She was booked that same day at the Sumter County Detention Center to begin serving her 10-day sentence. She will lose her driver's license for 5 years. Was ordered to perform 100 hours of community service and has been placed on probation for 1 year. That means she can't drive that golf cart now for 5 years. I'm sure she's going to, right? But she gets caught. She was found passed out in a Yamaha golf cart on November 1. I'm going to tell you a little thing I learned about Yamaha golf carts just the other day with a meet and greet we had with one of our subscribers. I guess the Yamaha dealer told him because he was checking prices out on things. And I didn't know. On the front of your Yamaha golf cart, there's a little round Yamaha insignia, like a logo. Those are tuning forks. There's 3 tuning forks that they're kind of like, where they're like that and like that. And there's one, you got me. And apparently, I don't know if it's Yamaha or a company that owns Yamaha. I don't know all that intricate detail stuff, but I'll just say Yamaha. Yamaha invented the tuning fork. Who knew? She was found passed out in a Yamaha golf cart on November 1 in the 1400 block of Red Ash Place in the village of Duval, according to an arrest report. There was an open bottle of Smirnoff vodka near her feet. After she was woken up, she was fidgeting and said she did not know where she lived. She declined to participate in field sobriety exercises and provided breath samples that registered 0.197 and 0.190 blood alcohol content. In 2019, Maroney's lost her driver's license for 6 months after she was found with a half-empty 200 milliliter bottle of Smirnoff vodka under the seat of her Buick, which was parked at Cody's at Lake Sumter Landing. The Minnesota native was ticketed last year after her Buick collided with a golf cart, leaving the driver of that vehicle with head trauma. She was convicted in 2014 on a charge of driving under the influence in Minnesota. Jeez, lady, just give it up. God. A man who stole a golf cart in the village is caught on camera in latest theft. Good. I'm not going to show a picture of all this. They just got a camera picture of a guy walking along. But the point of that story for me to you is they will steal your golf cart. Take the keys out of it. No matter where you go, take the keys. That doesn't stop them from really stealing it, but it sure slows them down. 88-year-old villager celebrates after his first hole-in-one. The 88-year-old villager has finally crossed getting a hole-in-one off his bucket list. Al Wheel, W-E-I-H-L, had been golfing for 68 years before finally scoring the lucky ace at Tarpon Boyle Executive Golf Course. He lined up on the second hole and stroked a perfectly lobbed pitching wedge to the front of the green, and his ball rolled into the heart of the hole. Overjoyed by the accomplishment, Wheel exclaimed, "I am adding another 88 years of beautiful days in the villages to my bucket list. Congratulations on your hole-in-one after 65 years." Village of Caroline Pool will be closed on Monday. That's where we used to live, is in Caroline. I'm not going to read this whole thing. It just strikes me as odd. I don't think this has anything to do with the villages at all. It's probably Wildwood. All kinds of weird crap happens over there. Woman in trunk of car during hit and run crash, jailed without bond. Now, why would anybody be in a trunk of a car while somebody driving it? I don't know. Letters to the editor. It's just on the verge of being too long, but I might read it. It's about a little bit of developers, happy paper, and politics. I don't like getting in politics, but letters to the editor, I said I would read some once in a while just so you can get an idea what other people here in the villages are thinking or saying. To the editor, in the July 29 developer-owned The Villages Daily Sun, there is a front-page article titled Baxley Haig's Works Earns A+ from Nonprofit Legislative Scoreboard. This is a quote from Brett Haig in that article. My goals were achieved and my grade reflects it, Haig says. I go to Tallahassee to drive and support common sense conservatives to pro-business and pro-law enforcement legislative in which all Floridians may prosper. We were successful. As expected, important facts were missing in that article. What about pro-property owner legislation? In 2019, there was a 25% property tax rate increase in Sumter County to help pay for new roads to support the growth of the villages. Where was Haig-Baxley bill to help all the property owners by limiting the amount that property tax rates could be increased and made that bill retroactive to stop the 25% tax increase? That is a good question. Whether you agree or don't agree makes no difference. Most states has a limit on how much you can raise a property tax at any one given time. In the 2024 election, the voters need to replace State Representative Brett Haig, who received a $350,000 paycheck from the villages, and in 2021 succeeded in passing a bill that hampers the tax burden for new roads supporting the expansion of the villages from the current property owners in Sumter County to the developer of the villages. That bill was retroactive to January 1, 2021 and limited future increases to 12.5% per year and requires 4 or 5 county commissioners to approve any increase. That bill helped the developer. That's sent in by John Castura, the village of Belvedere. I believe in Indiana, first of all, the governor we had at that time, Mitch Daniels, which is now president of Purdue University, he changed the whole way the taxes on property in Indiana was even done. And some liked it, some didn't. He said the taxes was based on appraised value for taxes. In other words, they may appraise your house at $250,000 and your taxes would be based on that $250,000. But everybody knew you could never sell the house for $250,000. It wasn't worth that. But that's how the taxes were based. And they changed that law to where the taxes were based on true value of the house, which was done generally by real estate companies and things like that, of what homes were being sold for that's comparable to your house in that area. And I don't know how many, but I can tell you my taxes went down significantly because of that. I'm sure other areas the taxes kind of maybe went up, especially business taxes and things. I don't know. Maybe farmers. I don't know. But anyway, he changed the whole system. And in that system was a maximum amount of taxes could be raised. And at that time, I think it was like 5 point something percent a year. And that was it. But what they did was they exonerated school tax. School tax was not really part of your property tax, even though that's 90% of your property taxes for the schools. But they made it separate to where school taxes could be added on top of that. So it was like 5 point something percent property taxes could be raised that year. And then school taxes might be another whatever. And that was on top of the 5 something percent. But even with all that, it was never even close to this 25% tax increase they got here overnight. And their excuses down here is that, well, we haven't raised property taxes here for 15 years or whatever the figure was. Well, but I don't care. Do you? I mean, that sounds like their problem, not my problem. This tax increase is directly because the developer did not want to pay for roads down there, the infrastructure, which they have been doing all this time, and he wanted to pass it on to Sumter County. And we're paying Sumter County tax here, and now we're paying tax for the infrastructure down there for the developer, and he puts more money in his pocket but takes money out of our pocket, and that's what's happening, and that's what people are complaining about. And then we got the bond payments on top of that. I mean, to me, it's almost getting to the point of greed. I mean, that's how I'm seeing it. I don't know all the ins and outs about it. I'll admit it. I'm dumb about a lot of this, but it's just take, and take. You'll have to weigh the issues yourself. UF Health admit patient data may have been compromised in ransomware attack. Those of you who don't know it, here about, I don't know, a couple months ago, maybe a little longer than that. That ransomware, to shut the oil line down, said that they would release the oil thing if you paid $1 million or whatever it was. And I don't know if they paid it or not. I think they did. I think they did, just to get that thing going. I think that was a bad move. Once you pay ransom once, it just antagonizes them to do it again. And so I think our hospital up there got that ransomware, and they were asking them the same thing, like $1 million, we'll take this off your computers. I don't know what effects that had at the hospital, but I understand it really kind of screwed everything up. But being what it is, I don't think any ransom was paid here. Whatever they did, they got around it. So, but yeah, we were attacked. And so you got to wonder if they got enough knowledge to shut a system down in a major hospital and things like, and it's not our hospital. The company that owns that hospital owns several hospitals. So I'm sure it attacked all of them. Do they get my credit card information off of there? Did they, things like that? I don't know. Okay. I'm going to give you this little update thing here, and then that's going to be it. For the 7-day period ending Thursday, Florida reported 502.7 new cases per 100,000 population. The 7-day period ending June 17th was the recent low, with only 47.6 cases per 100,000 population. The number of cases has increased 9.4 times over that low in just 6 weeks. The chart below, it's got a chart here. COVID's on the upswing again. Think maybe it has something to do with tourism? Everybody wanting to go to Disney World, come down to the beach. Do you think? Jeff Gower named chairman of this year's walk to end Alzheimer's in the villages. I used to volunteer for that every year. I haven't done it for a while because I've been really busy doing this and some other stuff, but it's a good thing. Here's a letter to the editor. I'll read this one here. Keep in mind, I'm just reading letters to the editor. This is not necessarily my opinion on any of this. Oh my God. Marilyn Iskra from Osceola Hills. Why do you have to write a book just to make a point? Well, I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm just going to skip through it. To the editor, the new Sumter County commissioners have cost us a hospital. Orrin Miller, Gary Sertz, and Craig Estup were laser focused on punishing the developer with no regards to the collateral damage that their excessive impact fee would have on all businesses wanting to expand in Sumter. Meanwhile, the late commissioners were aggressively encouraging the hospital to locate on their side of the county line by offering huge economic incentives. The great economist Walter Wriston once said, "Capital goes where it is welcome and stays where it is well treated." Lake and Sumter counties have proven that people, investment capital, and businesses are mobile. They won't invest in tax-unfriendly counties, and they will be attracted to tax-friendlier places. Will this be a lesson learned for the 3 new Sumter County commissioners because the hospital had no problem finding someplace outside Sumter where they were more than welcome to set up shop? Like I said, that's from Marilyn Iskra, the village of Osceola Hills. CDD data shows COVID hospitalizations up 64% in Sumter County. CDD 12 workshop to set up stage for taking over deed compliance from developer. See, it's been right at it, a couple of years now. And that's what happens. You go into an area, he's in control of everything, of what's going on in there. And then after a certain period of time, he turns it back over to the residents. And that includes the deed compliance and everything. So that's why I was talking about the golf cart trails. Hold his feet to the fire now, or we're all going to pay who knows how much later down the road. Them trails down there south of 44 are going to disintegrate. It's just a matter of time. They're going to disintegrate because they're cheaping out. I don't know why they did. I'm assuming they had a budget and they decided to cut the ribbons out and use that money to do other things. All I know is those golf cart trails are not correct. Steady progress is being made at the site of the new Kentucky Fried Chicken restaurant in the Villages. Construction is taking place next to the Red Lobster restaurant at the intersection of County Road 466 and Tatanka Terrace at Buffalo Ridge Plaza. Canal Street Recreation Center and pool to close for maintenance. Tierra del Sol Shuffleboard courts will be resurfaced. A villager's son is stepping up his crusade against the federal transportation mask mandate, apparently emboldened by a recent flip-flop on mask guidance by the Center for Disease Control. Lucas Wall, who has been staying with his mother here in the village's friendliest hometown, has founded Americans Against Mask Mandates, dedicated to pushing back against forcing Americans to wear masks on public transportation. Wall appeared on a Ohio-based radio talk show, Mid-Morning Coffee Break, on Monday and discussed the recent flip-flop with regard to mask guidelines. Last week, the CDC reversed course and said even the vaccinated should wear masks indoors in parts of the country with high infection rates. Florida has been leading the nation in rates of COVID-19 infections. In May, the CDC said fully vaccinated Americans should shed their mask. Wall filed suit against the government after he was denied access to a flight earlier this year at Orlando International Airport. He said he has an anxiety disorder that cannot tolerate face coverings. Our number one priority is getting a court to strike down the federal transportation mask mandate, which discriminates against travelers with medical conditions who cannot tolerate wearing a mask covering, Wall said. Wall is also seeking support for his legal fund at GoFundMe, help end federal transportation mask mandates. That's stupid. Remember the lady that was drunk last week at Carrabba's? And the cop kept trying to get her to call somebody to come and take him home. Her and her 2 or 3 girlfriends that were all drunk in their car. I mean, he's giving him a break. Then she grabbed him, and then I'm just guessing here. He probably moved her away and said, "Please, ma'am, don't grab me. Don't ever grab a police officer or whatever." Which, yeah, right. That's common sense. She grabbed him again. Then she started cussing him out, calling him a name, and said, "You don't know who I am," blah, blah, blah. And he ended up arresting her. And the girlfriends, they probably called their dads or whatever to come and pick them up. Well, she got sentenced. Let me see what it is. Let me see. A villager has entered a plea in a case in which she was arrested after an extremely intoxicated outburst at a restaurant. Sherry McCullough, 61, who lives in the village of De Alande, I'm going to find out where that is, has entered a written plea of not guilty to a charge of disorderly intoxication at Lake County. McCullough's plea was entered through her attorney, David Arnold of Ocala. McCullough was sitting in a passenger seat of a vehicle shortly before 9 p.m. July 24th in a parking lot at Carrabba's Italian Grill at Rolling Acres Plaza when officers responded to investigate a report of a possible battery, according to a arrest report from the Lady Lake Police Department. McCullough admitted she had gotten into a verbal altercation with an unknown male subject prior to leaving the restaurant, the report said. She denied that the altercation was physical. Officers saw that McCullough had scratches on her knees, but she told police she fell out of the restaurant. This is just a reminder. You guys remember all that, right? McCullough got out of the vehicle despite being told by the police officers to remain in the vehicle. Do what the officer tells you. It's amazing. If you just follow officers' directions, generally nothing ever happens. It's when people want to argue and talk about their rights, and then they say this, "I know my rights." No, you don't. You think that officer hasn't been trained? Now, do I'm saying that every officer doesn't make a mistake? I'm not saying that at all. I'm just simply saying if you just simply do what they tell you to do, generally speaking, nothing happens. She nearly fell when exiting the vehicle. However, she was caught by a police officer before she hit the pavement. McCullough and her companions were offered the opportunity to call for a ride due to all parties in the vehicle being too impaired to drive. McCullough grabbed an officer by the right forearm and demanded to know, "Who do you think you are?" She took hold of the officer's arm a second time, and that was probably it right there. "You're going to pay for this. Watch and see," she said. "You don't know who you're messing with." She jumped toward the officer as if she was going to inflict a headbutt. The triad continued en route to Lake Sumter or to Lake County Jail. McCullough remains free on a $500 bond. That's not much. It's $50 is what that is. Lake County records indicate a plea negotiation conference has been scheduled for September the 2nd. They're just going to, whatever the charges that she was arrested on, they're just going to negotiate them down, from, let's say, disorderly to something else, and then pay a fine and, maybe community service of some kind. That's what's going, or go to anger management. That seems to be a big one nowadays. They'll send her there, or maybe alcohol counseling or something. Here's a letter to the editor. Title of the letter is "Apartments Will Be the Death of Spanish Springs." As the Katie Bells and Spanish Springs apartments saga continues, almost like a novel that never ends, per the opinion of many village residents, the questions are: what, why, and how is this happening? For the longest time, Katie Bells was similar to an anchor store in a shopping center. The various activities at Katie Bells were an attraction from late morning to late evening for many people that brought life to the Spanish Springs area. Now the Spanish Springs town square resembles a ghost town most of the day, except for scheduled events and a couple of bar restaurants that features live music from mid-afternoon until no later than 5 p.m. prior to the music of entertainment starting in the respective squares. Currently, the people working at businesses and their client customers located on the second floor of the Spanish Springs Town Square buildings do patronize the local restaurants and stores. When the second floor business moves to another location, consequently, there will be less activity and less people. Limited amount of proposed apartments dwellers will further exasperate the diminished people activities and cause negative business issues. The onus to date to put on Lady Lake commissioners to change their determinations going forward with apartments or business. As usual in Spanish Springs, Lady Lake will not issue or change zoning restrictions to place businesses in a residential area of the town square, but the commissioners are asked by the villages to make a zoning change to place residential dwellings in zone business areas. There are approximately 8,000 village residents that live within the town of Lady Lake city limits. There are approximately mean average depending on seasonal time. I don't know what that means. 100,000 plus village residents that live within the village boundaries. By definition, these 100,000 village residents have no standing in the town of Lady Lake for any outcome forthcoming from the Lady Lake Commission that will determine the future of Spanish Springs Town Square Center and Katie Bells. Yet, the village's residents are affected the most by the outcome. How does that work? Kind of like a proverbial quote: the tail wagging the dog. Many village residents choose to purchase homes in the villages because of the lifestyle as influenced by the amenities and entertainment predicted on what Katie Bells and Spanish Springs Town Center offered. Although the appearance and programs for the newer squares varied and different neighborhoods developed, the camaraderie and lifestyle remained the same. The villages grew according to this matrix, and the developer profited because the village's home sale. Again, based on the Spanish Springs lifestyle as presented. Most village residents truly believe that the villages is by far the best retirement place, but are disappointed by the lifestyle change as petitioned. Are there any fiduciary responsibilities the villages have to the residents for proposing major lifestyle changes based on what was initially offered and what is now presented without any? My God, this thing goes on like a book. I didn't realize that. I'm not reading reading all this. Man, you talk too much in typing. I'm serious. You just talk way too much. You can just get to the point. You don't agree with what the governors and the town commission is doing up there about Katie Bells, and you're mad because the lifestyle seems to be changing. That's what the point is. Well, there's a lot of people that agree with you. I personally ain't one of them, and I'll tell you why. Do I like what they're doing about Katie Bells? No. Do I like that they took the restaurant out and they got rid of it? No. Do I like that we don't have a residents-only club? Absolutely not. I think that was a great thing up there. I think there should be at least one resident-only club like that in each and every square. That's my belief. But this is a free country, and people are generally allowed to do whatever it is they want. We signed an agreement with the development company saying we'll follow rules within our district. The developer has not signed an agreement with any one of us. Not one. He has signed different things with different town commissioners about certain things that we don't know anything about, but he owns it. Just like Hacienda Country Club. He owned it. If he wants to tear it down, he'll tear it down. Now, he has to go through a process, political process, I think, with the towns to get things done. Let's face it, when, you got a couple of $1 billion, and this is a good old boy network, you get things done. You may not like it, but you get things done. So, yeah, I mean, just like all the golf courses running around the villages, and I'm almost sure about this, as a village resident, we own in our districts, we own none of them. He owns them. And he rents the restaurants out and the pro club and all that. That's all rented out. He owns it. He owns the dirt. There's nothing to be said, I don't think, that in an area, let's say there's an executive golf course, and they were talking about one here not too long ago up at the Silver Lake area, an executive course. I forget which one. They weren't sure what to do with it because nobody was playing golf there no more, and it was getting in disarray, and they didn't know they needed to spend a lot of money to get the golf course back into shape. I think what he was thinking about doing was taking that golf course up there and building, whatever. Villas, courtyard villas, new homes. He can do what he wants. It's his property. He just has to deal with whatever county he's in to get things approved. But he doesn't have to deal with me or any villager here. He did not sign any agreement with us. We signed an agreement with him. That's my opinion. Take it for what it's worth. I'm getting out of here. I think that's enough right now. I got to get this thing edited. You all have a great time. Have a great day. And I'll see every one of you on the other side.